Let's journey now into the deep heart of winter, when nights stretch long and cold, when frost paints windows with crystal forests, when ancient traditions awaken in the darkness, to the season of Yule, when our ancestors gathered close to fire and told stories of the beings that walked abroad in winter's grip. Stories older than Christmas, darker than Santa, yet part of the same great tapestry of winter celebration, gift-giving, and the eternal hope that light will return. Fact 1. The winter solstice, Yule's heart. Long before Christmas marked December 25th, people celebrated the winter solstice, the longest night of the year, when darkness reached its peak and the sun, weakened and distant, prepared to return. This moment, usually December 21st or 22nd, was sacred to ancient peoples across northern Europe. They called it Yule, from the Old Norse Jol, and celebrated with fire, feasting, and prayers for the sun's return. The solstice was a threshold, a turning point, the moment when light began, however imperceptibly, to reclaim the world from winter's grasp. Our ancestors understood something profound, that darkness must reach its fullness before light can grow again, that the year dies so it can be reborn, that winter's depth is spring's promise. The Yule celebrations lasted for days, sometimes 12 days, a number that sounds familiar, echoing forward into Christmas traditions. Yule wasn't just a party but a sacred time, acknowledging winter's power while affirming faith that warmth and light would return, as they always had, as the wheel of the year turned eternally. Fact 2. The Yule Log. Central to ancient Yule celebrations was the Yule Log, a massive piece of wood, carefully chosen, often oak or ash, brought into the home with ceremony and reverence. The log was decorated with greenery, blessed with libations of ale or cider, then placed in the hearth and lit, ideally with a piece saved from last year's log, creating continuity across years. The Yule log burned throughout the 12 days of Yule, its flames warming the house, its light pushing back winter's darkness, its presence protecting the household from malevolent spirits abroad in the long nights. As it burned, families gathered around, told stories, sang songs, made wishes. A piece was saved, carefully preserved through the year, to light next year's log, creating an unbroken chain of fire stretching back through generations. The Yule log represented the sun's return, the hearth's sacred flame, the community's center. When Christianity arrived, the tradition continued, though the meanings shifted. Today's Yule log dessert, chocolate cake shaped like a log, is a sweet echo of this ancient practice, the sacred fire transformed into confection, yet maintaining connection to that primal need for warmth and light in winter's depths. Fact 3. Krampus, the Christmas devil. While Santa Claus rewards good children, Krampus punishes the naughty. This creature from Alpine folklore, Austria, Bavaria, parts of Switzerland and northern Italy, appears during the Christmas season, particularly on Krampusnacht, December 5th, the night before St. Nicholas Day. Krampus is terrifying, covered in dark hair or fur, bearing horns like a goat or demon, carrying chains and bells, wielding birch switches, with a long pointed tongue and fangs. He accompanies St. Nicholas but serves opposite purpose. While the saint rewards the good with gifts, Krampus beats the wicked with his switches, carries away the truly terrible children in his basket or sack, to eat them, drown them, or drag them to hell, depending on which version of the tale you hear. Krampus embodies the dark side of the winter season. The cold that kills, the hunger that stalks, the darkness that threatens. He's the nightmare to Nicholas's dream, the punishment that makes reward meaningful, the fear that makes goodness desirable. The name possibly comes from the German Krampen, meaning claw, describing his fearsome hands. Krampus traditions include Krampuslauf, Krampus runs, where young men dress as Krampus and rampage through town, chasing and frightening people, creating controlled chaos that honors winter's wild, dangerous spirit. Fact 4. The connection between Krampus and Santa. Krampus and Santa aren't opposites but partners, two faces of the winter gift bringer. Both derive from older traditions of midwinter visitors who judged behavior and distributed rewards or punishments. Santa evolved from Saint Nicholas, the 4th century bishop of Myra known for gift-giving and protecting children. But Nicholas rarely traveled alone in folk tradition. He was accompanied by a darker figure, a servant or shadow self. In different regions, this companion had different names. Krampus in Alpine areas, Knecht Ruprecht in Germany, Zwart Piet in the Netherlands, Père Fouettard in France. These figures served similar functions, enforcing good behavior through fear while Nicholas encouraged it through reward. The pairing shows sophisticated understanding of human psychology. Carrots and sticks, hope and fear, reward and punishment working together. When Dutch settlers brought Sinterklaas to America, he evolved into Santa Claus, but his dark companion was largely left behind, culturally unwelcome in the optimistic New World. Yet Krampus persisted in European tradition, and recently, perhaps as counterpoint to Christmas commercialization's overwhelming sweetness, Krampus has resurged in popularity, reminding us that winter celebration has teeth, that the season isn't all cookies and carols but also darkness, cold, and things that go bump in the long nights. Our journey through winter's mysteries continues now, as we explore more of the beings and traditions that haunt the season, the customs that blend old and new, the wisdom hidden in winter tales. Fact 9. Frau Perchta, the Christmas Witch. In Alpine and Southern German folklore, Frau Perchta appears during the 12 days, particularly on Twelfth Night. She's a complex figure, sometimes beautiful, sometimes hag-like, appearing as either a radiant woman in white or a crone with a hooked nose and one large foot. Perchta judges households' industriousness, checking that spinning is finished before Christmas, that proper foods are eaten on her feast day, particularly fish and gruel, that children have been obedient. Those who meet her standards receive a small coin in their shoe or bucket. But those who fail, Perchta punishes terribly. She slits open the lazy person's belly, removes their intestines, and stuffs them with straw and stones. Children who haven't worked hard find themselves similarly treated. Perchta's grotesque punishments serve to enforce social order. Finish your work before winter celebrations, eat proper foods, maintain traditions, work hard throughout the year. But she also protected children and women, punished those who harmed them, led the souls of dead children. Perchta embodies winter's dualism, nurturing and destroying, rewarding and punishing, beautiful and terrifying. She's the old woman of winter, death and rebirth combined, showing that Germanic winter traditions included powerful female figures alongside male ones like Odin and Krampus. Fact 10. The Christmas Goat, Yule Log. In Scandinavian tradition, the Yule goat, Yule Log, is both gift-bringer and straw decoration. Originally, the goat was connected to Thor, whose chariot was pulled by two goats. The Yule goat evolved into various forms, sometimes a figure who demanded gifts, sometimes one who gave them, sometimes a person dressed in goat costume going door to door during your celebrations. In Sweden, the goat gradually merged with gift-giving traditions, and before Santa became dominant, the Yule Log brought presents. Today, straw goats remain popular Scandinavian Christmas decorations, and the city of Gävle, Sweden, erects a massive straw goat each year, which has become famous partly because people keep trying to burn it down. The goat connects Christmas to older pagan traditions, to Thor's sacred animals, to fertility symbols. Goats represented virility, abundance, and survival through winter when other livestock struggled. The Yule Log shows how pagan symbols were incorporated into Christian celebration rather than eliminated, how old gods transformed into folkloric figures, how traditions layer atop each other, creating complex inheritance where Thor's goats pull Santa's sleigh in symbolic sense, connecting Norse mythology to modern Christmas through the enduring image of the Yule goat. Fact 11. Saint Nicholas, the real saint. Behind the jolly figure of Santa Claus stands a real person. Nicholas of Myra, a 4th century bishop in what's now Turkey. Nicholas was known for generosity, particularly to children and the poor. The most famous story tells of a poor man with 3 daughters who couldn't afford dowries, facing the prospect of selling them into slavery or prostitution. Nicholas secretly threw bags of gold through their window, or down the chimney, in some versions, on 3 successive nights, providing dowries and saving the daughters. Nicholas became patron saint of children, sailors, and dozens of other groups. His feast day, December 6th, became gift-giving day in many European countries, where children would receive presents, fruits, nuts, and candies. The tradition of hanging stockings derives from Nicholas stories. In some versions, the gold coins landed in stockings or shoes left by the fire to dry. Nicholas's reputation for miraculous intervention, especially helping children, made him beloved throughout Christian Europe. When Dutch Protestants diminished saint veneration, they kept Sinterklaas, showing his popularity transcended theological disputes. Dutch colonists brought Sinterklaas to America, where he evolved into Santa Claus, shedding bishop's robes for fur-trimmed suit, trading mitre for stocking cap, but retaining the essence, a generous magical figure who loves children, rewards the good, travels impossibly, and brings joy to winter's darkness. Fact 12. Evergreens and the promise of spring. Our tradition of decorating with evergreens, holly, ivy, pine, fir, mistletoe, connects to ancient recognition that these plants remain green through winter's death. When deciduous trees stand bare and brown, when flowers die and grass yellows, evergreens persist, promising that life continues, that spring will return, that death isn't final. Ancient peoples brought evergreens indoors during winter solstice celebrations, decorating homes and temples with boughs and wreaths. These weren't just pretty but sacred, representing life's persistence, the gods' presence, nature's promise of renewal. Romans exchanged evergreen branches during Saturnalia. Druids considered mistletoe particularly sacred, cutting it with golden sickles in special ceremonies. The Christmas tree tradition, though often attributed to Martin Luther or German customs, has roots in these older practices, bringing an entire tree indoors, decorating it with lights, originally candles, representing stars or returning light, placing gifts beneath it. The tree becomes Axis Mundi, world tree, connecting earth and sky, decorated with symbols of light and life. Even today, when few believe in the old pagan significance, the Christmas tree and evergreen decorations carry emotional weight, making homes festive, bringing nature's promise indoors, assuring us through their persistent green that winter's barrenness is temporary, that life endures, that light will return. Fact 13. Wassailing and caroling. Wassailing, visiting neighbors with a bowl of spiced cider or ale, singing songs, expecting hospitality in return, was ancient midwinter tradition. Wassail comes from Old Norse vesheil and Old English ways hail, meaning be healthy or be fortunate. Wassailers went door to door, singing, drinking, spreading good cheer, receiving food, drink, or coins. Apple trees were wassailed too. People would sing to orchards, pour cider on roots, place toast in branches, waking trees and ensuring good harvest. This combined blessing, party, and mild social coercion. Refusing wassailers' hospitality brought bad luck, so homes opened to singers, creating community bonds, ensuring generosity during harsh season. Caroling evolved from wassailing, becoming more formalized, less associated with demanding hospitality, more purely musical and spiritual. Yet echoes remain, careless expecting hot chocolate or cookies, the door-to-door singing, the spreading of festive spirit, the understanding that winter celebration requires community participation, that light and warmth must be shared, that music and fellowship combat winter's isolation. Wassailing and caroling both acknowledge that winter threatens community cohesion, that darkness and cold could separate and endanger us, that therefore we must actively maintain connections, singing at each other's doors, sharing warmth and drink, ensuring no one faces winter alone and forgotten. Fact 14. The Yule Lads, Iceland's 13 Santas. Iceland has 13 Yule Lads. Jólasveinar, mischievous characters who arrive one by one on the 13 nights before Christmas, each with distinct personality and trick. Their names describe their behavior. Stekkjastor, sheepcoat clod, harasses sheep. Gilgagor, gully gawk, hides in gullies to steal milk. Stufa, stubby, is short and steals pans to eat crusts. Virusliker, spoonlicker, lick spoons. Pottersliker, pot scraper, steals leftovers. Askasliker, bowl licker, hides under beds to steal bowls. Hiraskelir, door slammer, slams doors. Skirgamer, sky gobbler, loves Icelandic yogurt. Bugnakriki, sausage swiper, steals sausages. Gluggagigi, window peeper, peeps through windows. Gatafur, doorway sniffer, has enormous nose and steals bread. Kekkroker, meat hook, uses hook to steal meat. And Katasnikir, candle stealer, follows children to steal candles. Children place shoes in windows. Well-behaved children receive small gifts from each lad. Naughty ones get rotting potatoes. The lads aren't evil like Krampus, but mischievous, folkloric, distinctly Icelandic. Their mother is Gryla, a giantess who eats misbehaving children, and their pet is the aforementioned Yule cat. The Yule Lads show how different cultures created unique winter traditions, how gift-giving could be distributed across many nights and many givers, how personality and humor could be incorporated into winter folklore, making them beloved rather than feared, though the threat of their mother and the cat kept children somewhat behaved. Fact 15. Mistletoe, sacred and deadly. Mistletoe, that parasitic plant we hang for kissing, was sacred to ancient peoples, particularly Druids, who called it all heal and considered it powerful medicine and magical protection. Mistletoe grows on trees without touching earth, making it liminal, between earth and sky, neither tree nor ground plant, mysterious. Druids cut mistletoe with golden sickles in elaborate ceremonies, catching it in white cloth before it touched ground, preserving its magic. The plant was used in fertility rites, hung over doorways for protection, given as cure for various ailments. Norse mythology tells that Loki tricked blind HR into killing beloved Balder with mistletoe arrow, the only thing that could harm him. When Balder was restored, mistletoe was given to goddess Frigg, who decreed it should bring love not death, that those passing beneath it should kiss in peace. The kissing tradition may derive from this myth, from fertility associations, or from medieval custom of kissing under decorations called kissing boughs. Interestingly, mistletoe is toxic. Eating berries can cause serious illness, making it genuinely dangerous despite romantic associations. The plant embodies duality, healing and harming, sacred and deadly, fertility and death, protection and poison. Its persistence through winter, its white berries when nothing else fruits, its mysterious growth habits, all contributed to its sacred status, making it a powerful symbol of winter's contradictions, nature's complexity, the thin line between medicine and poison, blessing and curse. Fact 16. Father Christmas, the English spirit of feasting. Before Santa Claus dominated English Christmas imagination, there was Father Christmas, a different figure entirely. Father Christmas wasn't primarily a gift bringer but personification of festive celebration, feasting, drinking, and good cheer. He appeared in medieval plays and pageants, wearing green or red robes, crowned with holly, representing the spirit of Christmas celebration itself. Father Christmas encouraged generosity, hospitality, and revelry, presiding over holiday feasts, ensuring everyone had enough to eat and drink. He wasn't associated with judging children or bringing presents, but with ensuring proper celebration of the season. Enough food, warmth, joy, community. When Puritans tried to suppress Christmas celebration in 17th century England, defending Christmas meant defending Father Christmas, the right to feast and make merry. Later, as American Santa Claus's popularity grew, Father Christmas absorbed Santa characteristics, becoming a gift bringer, but retained his distinctly English character, older, more stately, less commercialized, representing tradition and celebration rather than consumer culture. Today, British people use Father Christmas and Santa Claus somewhat interchangeably, though Father Christmas retains slightly more gravitas, connecting to older traditions of the season as time for feasting, generosity, and celebration of community bonds rather than just children's gift receiving. And so we gather around the table laden with winter's feast, the Yule log burning bright, mistletoe hanging overhead, careless voices drifting in from the cold night outside, and we feel the layers of tradition stacking atop each other like snow, each age adding its customs while preserving older ones beneath, creating the rich, complex celebration we know today, and we rest in that complexity, in the interweaving of old and new, pagan and Christian, dark and light, danger and safety, all held together by winter's sacred time, and we drift towards sleep, warm inside while the Yule lads make their rounds, while Father Christmas ensures all are fed, while the old powers move through winter darkness, acknowledged and honored in story and song. We journey deeper now into winter's mysteries, into the customs that mark this sacred season, the figures that haunt its edges, the wisdom hidden in ancient celebrations. Fact 17. The winter solstice sunrise. At places like Stonehenge in England and Newgrange in Ireland, ancient peoples built monuments to mark the winter solstice sunrise. At Newgrange, a 5,000-year-old passage tomb, the rising sun on winter solstice morning sends a beam of light down the long passage to illuminate the inner chamber, a moment of magic lasting just 17 minutes. Our ancestors witnessed this annual miracle, the light penetrating darkness, the sun's return assured through stone alignment and patient waiting. These monuments weren't just calendars but temples, sacred spaces where the community gathered to witness the turning point, to celebrate the sun's survival of its lowest, weakest moment. The midwinter sunrise wasn't taken for granted but celebrated with awe and relief. The sun had reached its nadir and turned back, light would grow, warmth would eventually return, life would continue. This primal relief, this deep gratitude for light's return, underlies all winter celebrations, whether pagan Yule, Christian Christmas, Jewish Hanukkah, or modern secular festivities. We light candles, string lights, illuminate trees, instinctively enacting ancient recognition that light matters, that its return is worth celebrating, that darkness, though necessary, must be balanced by brightness. The winter solstice sunrise is hope made visible, survival assured, the universe's promise that wheels turn, seasons change, and winter always yields to spring. Fact 18. Saturnalia, Rome's winter festival. Ancient Romans celebrated Saturnalia in late December, honoring Saturn, god of agriculture and time. The festival began December 17th and eventually stretched to a week of celebration. During Saturnalia, normal social order inverted. Slaves were served by masters, gambling was allowed, gift-giving was encouraged, toga requirements relaxed. People exchanged small gifts, candles, pottery, food, and decorating homes with greenery was common. Schools closed, work ceased, courts adjourned. The festival was characterized by revelry, feasting, drinking, and general merrymaking. Io Saturnalia. People would cry, the ancient equivalent of Merry Christmas. Saturnalia represented temporary chaos, release from ordinary constraints, acknowledgement that winter required special celebration. The gift-giving, feasting, decorating with greenery, social inversion, and general festivity clearly influenced later Christmas celebrations. When Christianity became Rome's official religion, many Saturnalia customs were absorbed into Christmas, which was strategically placed in late December, partly to Christianize existing winter celebrations. Saturnalia shows that winter celebration, feasting when food was scarce, giving gifts when resources were tight, relaxing social constraints when order usually mattered, was human response to winter's harshness, way of maintaining morale and community bonds when darkness and cold threatened to isolate and depress. The Romans understood what our ancestors knew: winter celebration isn't frivolous but essential, maintaining human spirits when nature seems most hostile. Fact 19. Belsnickel, Pennsylvania Dutch Christmas. In Pennsylvania Dutch communities, Belsnickel visits in the weeks before Christmas, a figure dressed in furs and rags, wearing a mask, carrying a switch, demanding to know if children have been good. Unlike Jolly Santa, Belsnickel is ragged, slightly scary, testing children by throwing candies and nuts on the floor. Well-behaved children wait for permission to pick them up, while greedy or disobedient ones scramble immediately and get switched. Belsnickel comes from German tradition, brought by immigrants, another example of gift-bringer's dark companion or alternative figure. The name possibly combines pels, fur, and nickel, Nicholas, creating furry Nicholas or Nicholas in furs. Belsnickel isn't purely punitive like Krampus but tests and teaches, rewarding restraint, punishing greed, using fear and reward to shape behavior. The figure shows how immigrant communities maintained and adapted European traditions in America, creating distinctive regional variations. Belsnickel celebrations continue in some areas, keeping alive these older, more complex Christmas figures where not everything is jolly, where Santa has edges, where Christmas visitors might frighten as well as delight. These traditions acknowledge that winter and childhood both contain real dangers, that teaching caution and obedience serves protective purposes, that fear has a place in moral education alongside love and reward. Fact 20. The Holly and the Ivy. The medieval carol The Holly and the Ivy encodes older pagan symbolism into Christian framework. Holly, with its sharp leaves and red berries, represented masculine energy. Ivy, clingy and fertile, represented feminine energy. Together they symbolized balance, male and female, sun and moon, necessary partnership. Holly was especially sacred, remaining green and bearing bright berries in winter's depths. Romans used holly in Saturnalia decorations. Druids considered it sacred, protection against evil spirits. Christians reinterpreted holly, the sharp leaves representing Christ's crown of thorns, the red berries his blood. Ivy was associated with Bacchus, with fertility and celebration, later with fidelity and eternal life. Together, holly and ivy represented life persisting through winter, male and female energies in balance, protection against evil, and celebration of life's continuance. Bringing them indoors blessed homes, protected families, ensured fertility and fortune. The tradition of holly decorations continues, though few know the layered meanings. The plants themselves teach. Life endures when others wither. Color persists when world goes gray. Sharp defenses protect vulnerable life, and male and female together create completeness. Holly and ivy are winter's survival teachers, showing that persistence, protection, balance, and partnership enable endurance through harsh seasons. Lessons applicable to both plant and human communities facing winter's trials. Fact 21. Zwart Piet, Black Peter. In Dutch tradition, Sinterklaas is accompanied by Zwart Piet, Black Peter, his helper who climbs down chimneys to deliver gifts and candy. The tradition is controversial, with Zwart Piet's appearance, blackface makeup, curly wig, Renaissance costume, carrying painful colonial and racist associations. Defenders of the tradition claim the blackness comes from chimney soot, that it's innocent folklore, but critics note the clearly racial caricature elements, the troubling master-servant dynamic, and the way the tradition normalizes blackface. In recent years, many Dutch communities have modified or eliminated Zwart Piet, creating alternatives like Roodweg Pieten, soot smudge Piets, with only soot streaks, rainbow-colored Piets, or moving away from the character entirely. The controversy illustrates how beloved traditions can carry harmful elements, how folklore isn't innocent but reflects cultural attitudes and historical power structures, and how traditions must evolve when we recognize they cause harm. The figure likely originated from various sources. Moorish servants in medieval courts, devilish figures accompanying Saint Nicholas in medieval plays, generic exotic helpers. Whatever its origins, Zwart Piet shows that Christmas traditions aren't all timeless and pure, but sometimes problematic, requiring examination and evolution. Not all old customs deserve preservation unchanged. Sometimes honoring a seasoned spirit means letting harmful traditions go or transforming them into something that celebrates without causing pain. Fact 22. The winter solstice and light. Light is winter solstice's central symbol. We light candles, hang lights, build fires, illuminate trees, instinctive responses to darkness's dominance. Our ancestors' winter celebrations centered on light, bonfires blazing through the longest night, torches carried in processions, candles burning in windows. These weren't merely decorative but magical, sympathetic magic encouraging the sun's return, showing the light we wanted to see in the world, fighting darkness with human-made brightness. The practice continues. Christmas lights coating houses, menorahs lit for Hanukkah, Kwanzaa candles honored, luminarias glowing. We're enacting ancient ritual, probably older than religion or even language. The primal human response to winter darkness: make light, gather together, create warmth and brightness, refuse to submit to the long night's despair. There's profound wisdom here. When darkness threatens, we must create light ourselves, not waiting passively for spring but actively generating brightness, warmth, community. The lights we string aren't just pretty but profound, continuing practice thousands of years old, acknowledging that humans survived winter partly by refusing to accept darkness as final, by making light in the world's darkest season, by gathering together around flames and promising each other that light will return, that we'll maintain it together until the sun remembers how to climb again. Fact 23. Mari Lwyd, the Welsh horse skull. In Wales, the Mari Lwyd tradition involves a horse skull decorated with ribbons and bells, mounted on a pole and covered with a white sheet, carried door to door by a group who challenge householders to a battle of rhyming insults called Pound Co. The Mari Lwyd tries to gain entry through clever verses. The householders try to keep it out with their own rhymes. Eventually, the Mari is admitted and brings blessings, receiving food and drink. The Mari Lwyd's origins are mysterious and ancient, possibly pre-Christian, connected to winter solstice, death and rebirth, the old year dying. The horse skull is memento mori, death visiting, demanding acknowledgement, but also fertility symbol, horses representing power and life force. The tradition combines several elements: demanding hospitality, testing wit, acknowledging death, bringing blessings, community gathering. The Mari Lwyd is strange, slightly unsettling, distinctly Welsh, and profoundly old, feeling like something that survived from pre-Christian times when winter celebrations acknowledged darkness more directly, when death was invited in to be fed and honored before being sent away again. The tradition has revived in recent decades after nearly dying out, showing modern appetite for authentic, edgy winter customs that aren't sanitized, that maintain connection to older, stranger celebrations when winter was both feared and honored, when its darkness was acknowledged rather than denied. Fact 24. The Norse goddess Frigga and the Wheel. Frigga, or Frigg, Odin's wife and queen of the Norse gods, was associated with spinning and weaving, with fate itself, and with the winter season. She knew everyone's destiny but wouldn't speak of it. Her spinning wheel, particularly active in winter when spinning occupied long dark evenings, connected to the year's turning, the wheel of fate and fortune. Some folklorists suggest connections between Frigga and later Christmas traditions. She knew who'd been naughty or nice because she knew all fates. She traveled with Odin during Yule. She protected children and blessed good households. The connection is speculative, links uncertain, but it suggests how goddess figures from pagan past might have influenced Christmas development, how Frigga's wisdom, domestic protection, and connection to fate and fortune could have flowed into later traditions of magical visitors who know all and judge worthiness. The spinning wheel itself became Christmas symbol. Sleeping Beauty's spindle, Rumpelstiltskin's straw into gold wheel, connecting women's winter work to magic, fate, and seasonal celebration. Frigga represents the wise woman, the mother figure who knows all secrets, protects her children, and understands that fate weaves from countless threads, that life and death intertwine like wool on a spindle, that winter's spinning creates the thread from which spring's tapestry will be woven. And so we rest beside the spinning wheel, listening to its hum, watching thread form from formless wool, understanding that fate weaves us all into patterns we can't fully see, and we trust the weaver's wisdom, the pattern's purpose, knowing that dark threads and light both belong in the design, that winter's darkness makes spring's brightness possible, and we drift towards sleep like thread winding onto the spindle, drawn gently into rest, becoming part of the great weaving, the eternal pattern, the wheel that turns through seasons, through sleep and waking, through darkness and light. We journey now into winter's feasting and the creatures that haunt the season's edges, into the foods that sustained our ancestors and the animals that carried winter's meanings. Fact 25. The Yule Log, from hearth to table. The Yule Log, before it became chocolate cake rolled and frosted, was an actual log. A massive piece of wood, carefully selected, sometimes the largest that could fit in the hearth. Families chose it with ceremony, blessed it, decorated it with evergreen and ribbons, and set it burning on the winter solstice. The log would burn for 12 days in some households, kept smoldering, fed and tended, never allowed to go completely out. People saved the ashes, scattered them in fields for protection, tucked them away as charms against lightning. The log represented the sun's return, light and warmth brought into the home's heart, the promise that darkness would not win. Some traditions required the log to be lit with a piece saved from the previous year's log, creating an unbroken chain of fire stretching back through generations. The log burning through the longest nights was more than warmth. It was defiance against the dark, companionship against isolation, proof that the household would survive to see spring. When hearths gave way to smaller stoves and modern heating, the tradition transformed. The log became culinary, chocolate and buttercream shaped to remember what fire once meant, sweet substitute for sacred flame, yet maintaining connection to that primal need for light in darkness's depths. Fact 26. Mince pies, the manger's shape. Mince pies, those small sweet pastries we eat today, were once shaped like mangers, oblong, humble, meant to honor the nativity, filled with spiced meat and fruits that represented the exotic gifts of the Magi. There was a superstition, widely believed, eat one mince pie in each of 12 different houses during the 12 days of Christmas, and each pie would grant you one happy month in the coming year. Refuse a mince pie when offered, and you'd bring bad luck on the host's household. The pies thus became tokens of hospitality, binding communities together through shared sweetness in winter's depth. The rich spices, cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg, were expensive, precious, saved for these special days when darkness reigned and warmth needed summoning. Some people made wishes while eating their first mince pie of the season, turning silently clockwise as they ate, believing this would bring the wish to fruition. The pie contained the world's riches, spices from distant lands, in miniature form, a reminder that even in winter's poverty, abundance existed somewhere. The tradition evolved, the manger shape disappeared, the meat mostly vanished, leaving sweet fruit filling, but the superstitions persisted, showing how food becomes more than sustenance during winter celebrations, how eating together creates community, how sharing sweetness in dark season is itself a kind of magic, promising that bitter winter will yield to sweeter seasons ahead. Fact 27. Wassailing, singing to the trees. Wassailing, the word itself feels warm, ancient, a little drunk. Groups would go door to door singing, carrying a wassail bowl filled with spiced ale or cider, warm and fragrant, offering drinks to neighbors in exchange for gifts of food or money. But wassailing wasn't only for people. In the orchards, especially in apple-growing regions, people would gather on Twelfth Night around the oldest, best-bearing apple trees, singing to them, toasting them, pouring cider on their roots, hanging pieces of toast soaked in cider from their branches for the robins, gifts for the tree spirits. They would make tremendous noise, banging pots and pans, firing guns into the branches to wake the trees, drive out evil spirits, ensure a good harvest in the coming year. The wassail songs were half blessing, half command. Old apple tree, we wassail thee, and hoping thou wilt bear. The orchards in winter, bare and seemingly dead, needed this ritual attention, this loud insistence that they would live, would bloom, would fruit. Wassailing bound community to land, present to future, celebration to survival. To not wassail the trees risked their failure, risked hunger, risked breaking the compact between humans and the earth that fed them. The tradition shows how winter celebration wasn't separate from practical life but intertwined with it, how magic and agriculture couldn't be distinguished, how singing drunk in orchards on cold January nights was serious business, ensuring food for the coming year, maintaining relationship with trees that kept communities alive. Fact 28. Gingerbread, the spiced medicine. Gingerbread became winter's flavor because the spices it required were expensive, luxurious, worth celebrating during festivals when ordinary scarcity gave way to extraordinary abundance. But gingerbread was also magical, shaped into people, animals, houses. It became a medium for folk magic and blessing. Gingerbread figures were charms, given as gifts with wishes baked into them. In some traditions, gingerbread men represented the year's dead, eaten ritually to honor them, incorporate their strength. The spices themselves, ginger, cinnamon, cloves, were preservative, antibacterial before anyone understood germs, making gingerbread one of the few fresh sweet things that could last through winter, passed from house to house, given as gifts, carried as travelers' food. Medieval and Renaissance gingerbread were sometimes gilded with real gold leaf, shaped into elaborate forms at fairs, sold as love tokens. To give someone gingerbread was to give warmth, spice, sweetness, preservation, everything winter threatened to take away. The shapes mattered. Gingerbread people contained human essence, could be marked with names, used in sympathetic magic. Gingerbread houses evoked shelter, safety, the home maintained against winter's assault. Even today, decorating gingerbread houses is a ritual act, creating miniature world of sweetness and security, edible architecture against invisible cold, sugar and spice defending against darkness. Children learning through frosting and candy that humans create safety, build shelter, make sweet things to sustain us through harsh seasons. Fact 29. The robin, winter's red breast. The robin, small and bright-breasted, became winter's bird in European folklore, more visible in winter when other birds fled south, brave against the snow. Legend said the robin got its red breast from flying too close to the fires of hell, bringing water to suffering souls, scorched by its compassion. Another tale claimed the robin tried to pull thorns from Christ's crown, staining its breast with holy blood. The robin thus carried marks of mercy, of sacrifice, appearing in winter as a reminder that goodness persists even in the darkest cold. To kill a robin brought terrible luck. Your hand would shake forever, your house would burn, your cows would give bloody milk. The robin was protected by these beliefs, given status beyond its size. In some regions, finding a dead robin meant harsh winter ahead. The robin singing in December was either promise of spring or warning of storms, depending on local interpretation. The robin on Christmas cards, perched on snow-dusted branches, isn't mere decoration. It's survival of these old beliefs. The memory that this small bird carries disproportionate meaning represents something essential about endurance, hope, the red warmth of life against white death. The robin teaches that smallness doesn't mean insignificance, that bright spots matter in grey seasons, that courage to stay when others flee deserves honor, that sometimes the smallest beings carry the most important messages. Spring will return, warmth persists, life endures. Fact 30. Reindeer, the Sami spirit animals. Reindeer, now inseparable from Christmas imagery, entered winter folklore through the Sami people of northern Scandinavia, for whom reindeer weren't decorative but essential: transportation, food, clothing, tools, everything necessary for surviving the Arctic winter. Reindeer could navigate snow and darkness, find food beneath ice, survive what killed horses. The Sami relationship with reindeer was spiritual, shamanic. Reindeer appeared in visions, carried souls between worlds, new paths through realms humans couldn't access. When reindeer were attached to winter gift-bringers in the 19th century, this wasn't random whimsy but appropriation of existing indigenous beliefs about reindeer as magical, liminal creatures. The reindeer pulling Santa's sleigh are domesticated versions of something older, stranger, spirit animals that cross boundaries, that know the winter landscape secrets, that can travel between darkness and light. Flying reindeer aren't pure fantasy but echo shamanic traditions of spiritual flight, reindeer-guided journeys to other realms. The reindeer made winter navigation possible, literally and metaphorically, and their presence in winter celebrations remembers this, however distorted by commercialization. The reindeer teach that survival in harsh lands requires partnership between human and animal, that some creatures know winter's secrets better than we do, that respecting indigenous wisdom about the natural world isn't optional but essential to understanding how humans have survived in places where winter kills the unprepared. Fact 31. Spiders and silver webs. Spiders and Christmas trees connect through Eastern European folktale. A poor family, too poor to decorate their Christmas tree, woke on Christmas morning to find it covered in spider webs that had turned to silver and gold in the holy night's magic. The spiders, taking pity on the family, had decorated what the family couldn't afford to adorn. This tale explains tinsel, those silvery strands we drape on trees, and why some cultures include spider ornaments in Christmas decorations. But the story goes deeper. Spiders spin, create from themselves, are patient craftspeople working in darkness. Spiders in corners are tolerated, even welcomed in some traditions, believed to bring good fortune. The spider's appearance at Christmas bridges natural and supernatural. Spiders are real, present in every home, yet also magical, capable of overnight transformation. The tale rewards poverty, humility, makes beauty from what others might consider unclean or frightening. It sanctifies the spider's work, the web that catches light, the patient overnight labor that transforms bare branches into splendor. The story teaches that beauty comes from unexpected sources, that the despised can create magnificence, that poverty doesn't mean ugliness, that patience and craft matter more than wealth. The spider spinning in darkness while family sleeps, creating decoration from its own body, giving without being asked. This is lesson about generosity, about finding resources within when external resources fail, about how small creatures working quietly can create wonder. Fact 32. The Yule cat, Jólakötturinn hunger. The Yule cat, Jólakötturinn, prowls through Icelandic winter folklore, a monstrous cat, huge and vicious, that eats people who didn't receive new clothes before Christmas. This isn't cuddly tradition. The Yule cat is terrifying, enforcement through fear, way to ensure that employers gave their workers cloth or clothing before winter, that families completed their autumnal work on time, that everyone had warm garments when cold could kill. The cat thus enforced labor discipline, social obligation, the practical necessity of winter preparation dressed in monstrous form. Children who didn't work hard might be eaten by the Yule cat, a threat that made wool carding, spinning, weaving urgent, that turned tedious work into survival. The Yule cat represents winter's judgment, the consequences of laziness or poverty, the way winter reveals and punishes unpreparedness. In harsh climate where clothing meant difference between life and death, the Yule cat made textile production sacred, urgent, worth terrorizing children over. The tradition persists in Iceland, the Yule cat appearing in songs, stories, Christmas marketing, reminder that not all winter traditions are comforting. Some are teeth in the dark, consequences walking on four legs, death that comes if you're not clothed against it. The cat teaches that winter forgives nothing, that preparation matters, that community must ensure everyone has adequate protection, that stories about monsters eating the unprepared serve purpose, making children understand that winter is deadly serious, that warm clothing isn't luxury but survival, that the work of preparing for winter, boring as it seems, keeps everyone alive. And so we rest beside the hearth, mince pie crumbs on our plate, gingerbread cooling, the robins singing outside the frosted window, while spiders spin in corners and reindeer wait in northern darkness. And we understand that winter's traditions interweave the practical and magical, that food and folklore blend together, that animals carry meanings beyond themselves, that every tradition serves purposes, binding community, ensuring preparation, teaching lessons, maintaining hope, and we drift towards sleep knowing these old stories still matter, that the Yule cat prowls for good reason, that robins represent more than decoration, that gingerbread houses are built against real cold, that wassailing ensures real harvests, and we sleep protected by traditions older than memory, warmed by fires that have burned for millennia, fed by food spiced with meaning as much as cloves. We journey deeper now into winter's transformations, into the ways light battles darkness, how humans learn to mark time's passage, and the magic woven into winter's deepest nights. Fact 33. Candles in windows, guiding lights. The tradition of placing candles in windows during winter celebrations carries layers of meaning, practical and mystical intertwined. In Ireland, candles in windows on Christmas Eve welcomed Mary and Joseph, symbolic hospitality for the Holy Family seeking shelter, but also signaled to traveling priests during penal times when Catholicism was forbidden. The candle meant Mass could be said here, sanctuary offered. In Jewish tradition, menorahs in windows during Hanukkah proclaim the miracle of oil that burned 8 days, publicizing the miracle, refusing to hide faith. In broader winter tradition, candles in windows guided travelers through winter darkness, welcomed guests, showed the house was warm and inhabited, warned off malevolent spirits who feared light. The candle was beacon and protection both, saying safety here to the lost and weary, danger here to things that hunt in darkness. Placing candles in windows required trust. The light announced your presence, made you visible, but winter demanded this visibility, this mutual acknowledgement of habitation and hospitality. Communities marked by windows glowing with candlelight were communities saying, "We're here, we survived, we welcome you." The tradition continues with electric candles now, safer but symbolically identical. Lights in windows during winter's darkness still proclaim hope, hospitality, survival, the refusal to let darkness claim everything, the insistence that human warmth and welcome persist even when nature seems most hostile to human life. Fact 34. The 12 days, time between times. The 12 days from Christmas to Epiphany, December 25th to January 6th, were considered especially magical and dangerous in European folklore. These days existed between years, liminal time when normal rules didn't apply, when the boundary between our world and the spirit world thinned, when the dead walked, when magic was more powerful, when prophecy and divination worked best. During these 12 days, one shouldn't work, lest the work be undone or bring bad luck throughout the coming year. Specific taboos varied by region. No spinning lest you entangle your fate. No washing lest you wash away a family member. Careful attention to first footers. The first person entering your home on New Year could determine your fortune for the entire year to come. Dreams during these nights were prophetic, showing the coming year's events in symbolic form. Whether during the 12 days predicted the next 12 months. The first days were the foretold January, the second day February, and so forth. These 12 days were time outside time, reset button for the cosmos, when the old year released its grip and the new year hadn't fully formed, creating space where anything might happen, where the usual boundaries dissolved. The Christian calendar placed Christmas and Epiphany 12 days apart, but the significance is older, rooted in pre-Christian celebration of winter solstice and its aftermath, in the understanding that transformation takes time, that the year's turning isn't instantaneous but processual, that magic and danger live together in transition times. Even today, these days feel special, suspended, hanging between Christmas celebration and New Year resolution, a collective breath held before exhaling into whatever comes next. Fact 35. Mumming, disguised visitors. Mumming, the tradition of going door to door in disguise during winter celebrations, performing short plays or simply appearing costumed and silent, seeking hospitality and giving blessings in return, was widespread across Britain and Ireland. Mummers wore elaborate disguises, masks, costumes made from straw or rags, faces blackened or painted, anything to make them unrecognizable. They'd arrive at houses, perform their plays, usually featuring death and resurrection, a hero killed and brought back to life by a comic doctor, then demand food, drink, and coins before moving on. The plays were crude, repetitive, often barely comprehensible, but the ritual mattered more than the performance. The disguises were essential. Mummers shouldn't be recognized, becoming anonymous representatives of something older than themselves, spirits of winter or the year's turning made flesh. The death and resurrection plot enacted the year's death and rebirth. Winter giving way to spring, the eternal cycle made drama. Refusing mummers' hospitality brought bad luck, so homes opened to these strange masked visitors, fed them, paid them, received their blessings. Mumming shows how winter celebration included elements of chaos, of social order temporarily suspended, of the weird and uncanny welcomed into domestic space. The tradition has mostly died out, surviving in isolated communities, but its spirit remains in costume parties, in the understanding that winter celebrations can include the strange and unsettling, that not everything must be comfortable and familiar, that sometimes blessing comes from masked strangers who arrive unexpected and leave without revealing their faces. Fact 36. Divination and fortune-telling. Winter solstice and the days surrounding it were considered optimal for divination, for seeing the future, for communicating with spirits and receiving prophecies. The long darkness made the veil between worlds thin, made hidden things visible, made the future accessible to those who knew how to look. Young women performed rituals to see their future husbands, eating salt herring before bed to dream of the man who'd bring them water, walking backward into a dark room with a mirror to glimpse his face, throwing apple peels over their shoulders to see what letter they formed. Scrying in dark water or mirrors revealed coming events. Dreams during the 12 days were examined for prophetic content. The first person you saw on New Year's Day, the direction wind blew, the behavior of animals, all carried meaning for the coming year. Winter divination wasn't idle curiosity but practical magic, attempting to gain information that could help navigate the year ahead, to know if marriage would come, if harvest would be good, if death stalked close. The practices acknowledged uncertainty, the future's hiddenness, but insisted humans could peek behind the veil, could glimpse what was coming, could prepare. Most divination focused on love and marriage, fertility and death, the great human concerns, the unknowns that shaped lives. The tradition of New Year's resolutions connects to this, the attempt to influence the coming year, to shape fate rather than just predict it. Winter divination taught that the future isn't entirely fixed, that humans have some agency, that knowledge and preparation matter, that trying to see what's coming, however dimly, beats stumbling blind into the unknown year. Fact 37. The Green Man, Winter's Hidden Life. The Green Man, that foliate face peering from church carvings and pub signs, seems more spring than winter, yet he belongs to winter celebrations too. The Green Man represents nature's persistence, the life that continues beneath winter's death, the promise encoded in evergreens that spring will return. Sometimes called Jack in the Green, he appears in May Day celebrations but has winter presence too, representing the buried life, the sleeping god, the vegetation that seems dead but only waits. In some traditions, a figure dressed in leaves and greenery appeared during winter celebrations, representing this hidden vitality, this promise of return. The Green Man is older than Christianity but was incorporated into churches, his leafy face peering from capitals and corbels, pagan symbol Christianized but maintaining older meaning. He teaches that death isn't final, that life waits, that green things sleep but don't die, that what seems ended merely transforms. The Green Man in winter is promise, not present reality. He's the spring waiting inside winter's husk, the future hidden in the present, the assurance that trees will leaf again, that grass will green again, that the world's apparent death is temporary. His hope made symbol, persistence personified, nature's refusal to surrender to winter's assault. Seeing his face during winter celebrations reminded our ancestors that however cold, however dark, however dead everything seemed, life persisted somewhere, waiting, gathering strength, preparing to burst forth when the wheel turned and warmth returned. Fact 38. Yule singing, songs in the dark. Winter was singing season, when work paused and entertainment meant making your own music. Yule songs, carols, wassail songs. These weren't background music but community activity, everyone participating, voices joining in the dark. The songs carried traditions, told stories, taught children their culture, maintained community bonds. Many Yule songs are surprisingly dark. The holly and the ivy encodes pagan symbolism. Good King Wenceslas celebrates charity while acknowledging winter poverty. The Coventry Carol mourns the slaughter of innocents. These aren't all jolly but complex, acknowledging winter's hardships while celebrating survival and community. The act of singing together created warmth, both literal, multiple bodies in one room, breath steaming, and metaphorical, shared experience, collective voice, the loneliness of winter darkness dispelled by communal sound. Caroling door to door, demanding entrance, expecting hospitality, was mild aggression, social pressure wrapped in melody, ensuring community maintained bonds, that no house stood too isolated, that winter didn't separate what needed to stay connected. The songs themselves were mnemonic devices, carrying information across generations before widespread literacy, teaching values and stories through rhyme and melody. Singing wassail songs to apple trees was magic, the human voice reaching across species barrier, blessing through sound, commanding through song. Winter singing acknowledged that humans combat darkness with sound as well as light, that voice is weapon against isolation, that singing together is itself a kind of magic, creating temporary unity, harmony from multiple separate voices, beauty from cold air and human breath. Fact 39. The North Wind, Boreas and Winter's Breath. The North Wind in folklore isn't just weather but personality, deity, force with intention. Greeks called him Boreas, depicted him as bearded man with wings, sometimes violent, capable of abducting maidens, father of swift horses. Norse tradition knew the North Wind as bringer of winter's worst, associated with giants and chaos. The North Wind brought killing cold, drove snow before it, tested human endurance. Folk wisdom taught reading the wind. North wind meant cold and clear, forecasting weather through direction and feel. The north wind couldn't be fought, only endured, prepared for, respected. Homes were built facing south when possible, northern sides protected, windows shuttered against northern assault. The wind itself became character in winter stories, antagonist in tales of travel and survival, the force that must be outwitted or outlasted. Some traditions held that the north wind could be bargained with, appeased, that leaving offerings might turn it aside. The wind's voice in winter, howling around corners, moaning in chimneys, rattling shutters, sounded like speech, like something trying to communicate or enter, explaining traditions of blessing doorways and windows, of protective charms against the wind's intrusion. The north wind taught that winter wasn't passive cold but active force, something with power and intention, something that noticed humans and tested them, that survival required acknowledging this power, preparing against it, showing proper respect and caution. Fact 40. Evergreen boughs, the promise of return. Bringing evergreen boughs indoors, pine, fir, holly, ivy, mistletoe, laurel, was ancient practice, predating Christianity by centuries. These plants, remaining green when everything else died, seemed magical, blessed, proof that life could survive winter's assault. They brought life's promise into the home, decorated spaces with living green, filled rooms with forest scent, pine's sharpness, fir's sweetness, the complex aromatics of crushed needles and broken branches. The scent itself was medicine, treating winter's respiratory ailments, improving air quality, lifting spirits. But the primary purpose was symbolic. These boughs proved winter wasn't absolute, that green persisted, that spring would return. Different evergreens carried different meanings. Holly's sharp leaves and red berries represented protection and life's blood. Ivy's clinging growth represented eternal life and fidelity. Pine's straightness represented uprightness and endurance. Mistletoe's mysterious growth represented magic and fertility. Gathering the evergreens was ritual, knowing which plants to take, thanking them, never taking too much, understanding relationship with the forest that provided. The boughs blessed the space they occupied, protected inhabitants, ensured good fortune. When they dried and browned, they were burned ceremonially, never discarded carelessly, returning them to fire, completing the cycle. The tradition of Christmas trees is most elaborate expression, but all evergreen decoration carries the same ancient message. Life persists, green remains, death is temporary, spring waits inside winter's heart, and humans can bring that promise inside, surrounding themselves with living proof that darkness and cold don't have final victory. And so we rest among the evergreen boughs, breathing their sharp sweet scent, listening to winter wind outside while candles glow in windows, while voices sing together in the darkness, while the green man sleeps beneath the snow. And we understand that winter teaches survival, that our ancestors learned to read winds and bless trees, to sing together and light candles, to bring green life inside when outside everything seemed dead. And we drift towards sleep knowing these lessons still matter, that we still need light in darkness, that singing together still creates warmth, that green things still promise return, and we sleep surrounded by evergreen branches, blessed by traditions older than memory, protected by knowledge that however dark winter grows, light waits, spring sleeps, and morning always, always comes. We journey now into winter's transformations of the ordinary into sacred, into the rituals that mark time's passage and the customs that bound communities together when darkness threatened to separate them. Fact 41. First footing, the New Year's threshold. In Scotland and Northern England, the first person to cross your threshold after midnight on New Year's Eve, the first footer, determined your fortune for the entire coming year. The ideal first footer was tall, dark-haired man carrying specific gifts: coal for warmth, salt for flavor and preservation, shortbread for food, whiskey for good cheer, and sometimes a coin for prosperity. Fair-haired or red-haired first-footers brought bad luck, as did women in some traditions, showing how superstition encoded cultural prejudices alongside genuine folk wisdom. The first-footer shouldn't arrive empty-handed, shouldn't speak until setting down gifts and being spoken to, should enter through the front door and leave through the back, carrying last year's bad luck away with them. Families took first footing seriously, sometimes arranging who would arrive first, ensuring good fortune rather than leaving it to chance. The tradition acknowledged thresholds as powerful, liminal spaces where inside meets outside, where control ends and fate begins. The first crossing into the new year carried weight, set tone, required proper ritual. First footing bound communities together, people visiting each other through the night, carrying gifts, sharing drinks, ensuring everyone had good start to the year. The tradition also acknowledged class. The poor could first foot for the wealthy, receiving hospitality and coins, creating social bonds across economic divides, ensuring community cohesion. First footing taught that beginnings matter, that how you start shapes what follows, that community cooperation could influence fate, that the turn of the year was a moment of power requiring attention, care, and proper observance. Fact 42. Souling, prayers for the dead. Souling, the practice of going door to door on All Souls' Day or during winter celebrations, offering to pray for households dead in exchange for soul cakes, small round cakes marked with crosses, was widespread medieval tradition. Children and poor people would soul, singing traditional songs. Soul, soul, a soul cake, please good Mrs. a soul cake, and receiving cakes, ale, or coins. Each cake represented a soul released from purgatory through the prayers offered, creating economy of salvation where the living could assist the dead through ritual exchange. Souling shows how winter celebrations included the dead, acknowledged them, maintained relationship across the boundary between living and deceased. The dead weren't forgotten but actively remembered, prayed for, included in winter's ritual life. Soul cakes were sweet, spiced, sometimes marked with crosses or religious symbols, blessed objects as much as food. Giving them wasn't charity but spiritual transaction, purchasing prayers that might help dead relatives, maintaining obligations to those who'd gone before. Souling influenced later traditions, trick-or-treating obviously derives from it. But Christmas caroling carries echoes too, the door-to-door singing, the expectation of hospitality, the exchange of performance for food and drink. Souling taught that the living have obligations to the dead, that winter's darkness includes the grave, that praying for departed souls was worthy work, that children and poor people could perform valuable spiritual labor. The community includes both the living and the dead, all bound together through prayer, remembrance, and the sharing of sacred food. Fact 43. The Ashen Faggot, Devon's Burning Bundle. In Devon and Somerset, the ashen faggot tradition involved binding ash twigs together with withies, flexible willow or hazel bands, creating a large bundle that was burned on Christmas Eve or Twelfth Night. The family would gather as the faggot burned, and when each withy burst in the flames, everyone would drink, creating excuse for communal celebration and ensuring proper attention to the fire. Young people would bet on which withy would burst first, adding gambling and competition to the ritual. The ash tree itself was sacred in British tradition, considered protective against lightning and evil, associated with healing and magic. Burning ash on winter's sacred nights combined multiple meanings. The sacred tree as offering, the binding and releasing as symbol of year's constraints being loosened, the communal gathering around fire as oldest winter ritual, the drinking punctuated by flames drama creating shared experience and celebration. The ashen faggot tradition is ancient, possibly pre-Christian, maintaining connection to tree worship and fire magic that Christianity never quite eliminated. The practice continues in some Devon pubs and homes, keeping alive this peculiarly local tradition, showing how regions maintain distinctive customs even as broader Christmas traditions standardized. The ashen faggot teaches that winter celebration could be deeply local, tied to specific trees and specific places, that not everything needed to be universal, that local knowledge and local tradition had value, that the ash trees growing in Devon hedgerows carried meanings unknown to those elsewhere, that place and plant and people intertwined in ways that created customs found nowhere else. Fact 44. Hunting the Wren, the King's Death. On St. Stephen's Day, December 26th, particularly in Ireland and parts of Britain, groups would hunt the wren, supposedly killing one, though often using a fake bird, and carry it from house to house on a decorated pole, singing wren songs and collecting money. The wren, despite being tiny, was called the king of birds in folklore, supposedly through trickery. It hid on the eagle's back and flew higher when the eagle tired. The wren hunt ritualized the king's death, the old year's passing, the necessary killing of what once ruled. Some versions involved elaborate costumes, the wren boys dressing in straw suits, faces disguised, becoming something other than themselves for the day. The hunted wren represented sacrifice, the small life given to ensure larger life's continuation, the king who must die so the kingdom can renew. The custom was controversial even historically. Some considered it cruel, others insisted it was necessary tradition. The wren hunt shows how winter customs could include violence, ritual killing, acknowledgement that life requires death, that renewal requires sacrifice, that the turn of the year costs something. The practice has mostly ceased, though wren boys still go house to house in some Irish communities. The dead bird replaced by symbol, the hunt become performance, but maintaining connection to this strange old custom where the smallest bird carried heaviest symbolic weight, where children hunted kings, where midwinter required blood, however small, to mark the turning. Fact 45. The Christmas Goose, Feast and Fortune. The Christmas goose, before turkey became standard, was traditional winter feast bird across much of Europe. Geese were practical, they could forage for themselves, required little feeding, fattened well on autumn gleanings. They were slaughtered before winter required feeding them, providing abundant meat for celebration. But the goose also carried symbolic weight, geese mate for life, representing fidelity and lasting bonds. The goose's fat, carefully saved, had medicinal uses, treating coughs and chest complaints through winter months. Goose feathers filled pillows and mattresses, the quills became pens, nothing was wasted. Eating goose at Christmas was both practical feast and ritual act, consuming abundance before scarcity set in, celebrating communal plenty, sharing expensive meat that demonstrated the household success. The goose's wishbone would be saved, dried, fought over by children, whoever won making a wish, sympathetic magic, breaking bones to break bad luck, snapping apart the past to open the future. Goose clubs developed in Victorian times. Working people would save pennies weekly to buy a Christmas goose, communal savings ensuring everyone could feast. The Christmas goose represented aspiration. Even poor families could hope to afford one. Even difficult years should include this celebration. When turkey replaced goose, something was lost. The connection to birds people knew personally, the practical animal that served multiple purposes, the traditional bird that connected Christmas feast to deeper agricultural and symbolic roots. Fact 46. Plough Monday, work's return. Plough Monday, the first Monday after Twelfth Night, marked work's resumption after winter celebration. Agricultural laborists would drag a decorated plough from house to house, performing traditional plays, collecting money. If households refused to pay, the ploughman would plough up the front yard in revenge, turning celebration aggressive, making social pressure physical. Plough Monday acknowledged that holidays must end, that winter work awaited, that however much celebration was needed, survival required labor's return. The decorated plough was blessed, prepared for coming year's work, honored as essential tool without which communities starved. The plays performed, rough, often improvised, featured traditional characters and plots, maintaining oral tradition, teaching through performance. Plough Monday was working-class holiday, belonging to laborists rather than gentry, asserting agricultural workers' importance and right to celebration. The tradition declined as agriculture mechanized, as rural communities dissolved, as the close connection between human labor and food production weakened. But Plough Monday taught important lessons, that celebration and work aren't opposites but partners, that tools deserve respect and blessing, that even necessary labor should begin with ritual acknowledgement, that workers deserve recognition of their importance, that the turn from festival to ordinary time requires marking, that renewal includes returning to productive work. That winter celebration isn't escape from life, but preparation for continuing it. Fact 47. The wild man, chaos embodied. In various European winter traditions, the wild man appeared, a figure covered in leaves, furs, or straw, sometimes with blackened face, representing chaos, wilderness, the untamed forces outside civilization. The wild man would disrupt celebrations, chase people, cause comic mayhem, before being captured, tamed, or driven away. He represented everything civilization excluded: animal nature, wilderness, chaos, the forest pressing against the village, the wild that must be controlled but never quite disappears. In some traditions, the wild man fought with St. George or another civilized hero, eventually being defeated, enacting the triumph of order over chaos, civilization over wilderness. But the wild man wasn't purely villain. He also brought fertility, his wild energy necessary for renewal, his disruption breaking stagnation. The wild man traditions acknowledged that human society requires boundaries, rules, order, but also requires periodic chaos, the rules temporarily suspended, the wild let in before being expelled again. Morris dancing traditions include wild men, full figures who interact with the audience unpredictably. Mumming plays feature wild doctors and wild challengers. The Wild Man shows how winter celebration included space for chaos, for the frightening and disorderly, for what normally must be excluded, for acknowledging that civilization has limits, that wilderness surrounds us, that we're not entirely tamed, that sometimes proper celebration requires letting wildness in, letting it dance and disrupt, before reasserting order and sending it back outside where it belongs. Fact 48. Blessing the animals, midwinter care. On various winter holy days, particularly around Christmas and Epiphany, animals were blessed, given extra food, allowed to rest from labor. The tradition acknowledged that survival depended on domestic animals, that they suffered winter's harshness too, that their well-being ensured human survival. Cattle, horses, sheep, pigs, chickens, all received special attention, extra feed, clean bedding. Sometimes their stalls were blessed with holy water or protective charms. Some traditions held that animals could speak on Christmas Eve, given voice for one holy night, capable of discussing their treatment and predicting the future. Wise people avoided listening to animal speech. What they might say could be dangerous, prophesies better unknown. The tradition of animals in the nativity scene reflects older beliefs about animals' sacred status during winter's holy time. Blessing animals wasn't sentimentality but practical magic, ensuring they survived winter, remained healthy, continued providing food, transport, labor that made human life possible. The tradition taught that humans and animals shared winter's trials, that their fates intertwined, that cruelty to animals during winter would be repaid with poor service or death, that kindness ensured cooperation. Even today, giving pets Christmas treats or extra attention maintains this tradition, acknowledging their importance to household well-being, ensuring their inclusion in winter celebration, maintaining the old understanding that we survive winter together, humans and animals, our fortunes bound. And so we rest in the blessed barn, animals warm in their stalls, the decorated plow ready for spring work, while the wild man dances outside before being sent back to the forest, while wren boys sing their strange songs, while geese roast and soul cakes are shared. And we understand that winter celebration includes both order and chaos, both feast and sacrifice, both work and rest, both the living and the dead. And we drift towards sleep knowing these traditions maintained balance, that our ancestors understood survival required both civilization and wildness, both plenty and restraint, both celebration and return to labor. And we sleep blessed like the animals, warm like the Christmas fire, held by traditions that new humans need ritual to mark time's passage, need community to survive winter's isolation, need both magic and practicality, both feast and fast, both light and the acknowledged darkness from which light emerges. We journey now into winter's deepest mysteries, into the places where celebration and survival blur together, where old gods walk in new guises, and where the year's darkest nights hold brightest promises. Fact 49. Yule bread, life from grain. Winter bread wasn't ordinary sustenance but sacred food, marked with symbols, blessed with prayers, given meaning beyond nutrition. Yule bread was baked in special shapes, suns and stars to encourage light's return, animals to ensure livestock's health, human figures to represent family members. The dough itself was ritual substance, grain that survived from harvest, yeast that lived and grew, water and salt, the four elements combined and transformed by fire into life-sustaining food. Some traditions required silence while kneading Yule bread, prayers spoken only mentally, making the bread meditation as much as cooking. Wheat sheaves were saved from harvest, kept until Christmas, then fed to cattle or used to bake special loaves, connecting summer's abundance to winter's need, binding the year's cycle into one continuous whole. Bread dough was marked with crosses, protective symbols, family marks, claiming the bread as blessed, defended against evil. A piece of Yule bread was saved, kept through the year as protection against hunger, fire, illness, the blessed bread becoming talisman. Sharing bread during winter celebrations enacted community bonds, breaking bread together, eating from the same loaf, consuming substance that sustained everyone equally. The bread acknowledged that humans transform nature, grain into flour, flour into dough, dough into bread, that we're creators as well as consumers, that survival requires skill and knowledge and care. Yule bread taught that even basic food could be sacred, that daily sustenance deserved ritual attention, that the grain that kept communities alive through winter deserved honor, blessing, and the recognition that bread was miracle, not commodity. Fact 50. The Kalikanzaroi, Greece's goblins. In Greek folklore, the Kalikanzaroi, malevolent goblin-like creatures, emerge from underground during the 12 days of Christmas, causing mischief and mayhem. They're described variously, sometimes small and imp-like, sometimes large and monstrous, always dangerous, trying to enter homes through chimneys, spoiling food, breaking things, riding people like horses, generally wreaking havoc. Protection required specific measures, keeping fires burning constantly so they couldn't descend chimneys, hanging pork jaws or sausages on doors, marking entrances with crosses, burning incense, leaving a calendar outside because the Kalakanzaroi would be compelled to count the holes until dawn drove them back underground. The creatures represented chaos, winter's dangers, the forces that threatened human order during the year's most vulnerable transition. They returned underground on Epiphany when priests blessed the waters, the holy water driving them back to their realm. The Kalakanzaroi tradition shows how different cultures developed unique winter monsters, how Greece's limestone caves and underground rivers generated different fears than northern forests, how Mediterranean winter folklore had its own character distinct from Germanic or Celtic traditions. The goblins weren't purely evil but chaotic, tricksters more than murderers, representing disorder rather than malevolence. Their compulsion to count holes showed how folk magic worked, exploiting the monster's weaknesses, using knowledge and cleverness to protect against strength and malice. The Kalakanzaroi taught that winter's 12 days required vigilance, that celebration must include protection, that the doors between worlds open both ways, letting not just souls and blessings through but also dangers that must be guarded against. Fact 51. Hogmanay, Scotland's New Year. Hogmanay, Scotland's New Year celebration, rivals or exceeds Christmas in importance, maintaining older traditions of winter festival as year-turning rather than religious observance. Hogmanay celebrations include first footing, fire festivals, cleansing rituals, and the singing of Auld Lang Syne. Before midnight, homes were cleaned thoroughly, debts paid, quarrels resolved, preparing to enter the new year with clean slate. At midnight, church bells would ring, ships' horns would sound, people would embrace and drink, singing Robert Burns' song about old friendships and times past. Fire festivals, giant bonfires, torchlight processions, burning tar barrels, purified the old year, encouraged the sun's return, drove away evil spirits. In some towns, enormous balls of fire were swung on poles, creating wheels of flame against the darkness. The fire represented multiple things: the sun being encouraged to return, purification burning away the old year's accumulated bad luck, light defying darkness, human defiance of winter's power. Hogmanay included the redding of homes, removing ashes from fireplaces, throwing out old things, sweeping thoroughly, making space for new beginnings. The celebration acknowledged that transitions require work, that you must actively prepare for change rather than passively awaiting it, that entering new time requires leaving old time properly, that bridges must be burned sometimes to move forward. Hogmanay shows how New Year, rather than Christmas, could be the primary winter celebration, how fire and cleansing could be central, how community gathering at the year's hinge created shared experience of time's passage. Fact 52. The Star Boys, Sweden singers. In Sweden, Star Boys, Stjärngossarna, went door to door between Christmas and Epiphany, carrying star-topped poles, wearing white robes and pointed hats, singing about the Star of Bethlehem. The procession included specific characters: the star-bearer carrying the illuminated star, various biblical figures, sometimes a goat figure representing pre-Christian elements. The Star Boys sang traditional songs, collected money and treats, brought blessings to households. The tradition combined Christian narrative with older customs of disguised winter visitors, the white robes and stars Christianizing what might have been pagan figures. The star itself was elaborate, often made of wood or metal, decorated, sometimes with candles making it glow, representing the star that guided the Magi, but also older traditions of light-bearing in darkness, of carrying symbolic suns and stars to encourage the real sun's return. Star Boys' tradition wasn't begging but ritual exchange. The songs and blessings had value. The household paid for spiritual service performed. The disguises, particularly the pointed hats, made performers otherworldly, representatives of sacred story rather than just neighborhood children. Star Boys showed how winter traditions could be layered. Christian story providing narrative framework, older customs of disguise and door-to-door visiting providing form, light symbolism connecting to solstice meanings, the whole creating complex tradition that served multiple purposes, teaching religious stories, maintaining community bonds, marking sacred season, providing excuse for children's performance and adults' generosity. Fact 53. Yule goat visits, the old gift bringer. Before Santa dominated Scandinavian Christmas, the Yule goat, Julbok, brought gifts, a tradition connecting to Thor's goat-drawn chariot and older pagan celebrations. Someone would dress in goat costume, shaggy fur, horns, often with accompanying performers, and visit homes, sometimes acting wild and frightening before calming and distributing presents. The Yule goat's dual nature, both gift-bringer and potential threat, reflected winter's complexity, the celebration that included edges of fear, the generosity that had to be earned or properly received. In some versions, the goat arrived demanding gifts, singing songs, performing antics, only later giving presents in return. The tradition showed gift-giving as exchange rather than one-way transaction, as relationship requiring participation from both sides. The goat costume connected celebration to animals, to nature, to older religious frameworks where gods and sacred creatures intermingled more freely than Christianity generally allowed. When Santa gradually replaced the Yule goat as primary gift-bringer, the goat survived as decoration, the straw goats that adorned Scandinavian homes maintaining connection to this older tradition. The Yule goat taught that gift-bringers needn't be entirely benevolent, that some edge of wildness or danger made the gifts more valuable, that receiving required proper behavior and attitude, that the magical visitors of winter came from older traditions than Christianity, that Nordic winter celebrations had their own character, their own figures, their own understanding of what sacred season required. Fact 54. The Yule boar, Freya's sacred animal. In Norse tradition, the Yule boar was central to midwinter celebration, sacred to the god Freya, representing fertility, prosperity, and the sun's return. A boar would be led into the hall. People would place hands on its head or bristles while making oaths and promises for the coming year, binding themselves through touch with the sacred animal. The boar would then be sacrificed, its meat providing the feast, its blood possibly used in blessing rituals. The tradition combined practical and sacred. The boar provided abundant meat for celebration while also serving as intermediary between humans and gods. Boar's head became traditional feast centerpiece in medieval England, continuing pagan practice in Christian context. The fierce tusked head decorated with bay leaves, rosemary, an apple in its mouth, carried in with ceremony and song. The boar represented masculinity, aggression turned to community's benefit, dangerous animal-made feast, wild power channeled into celebration. Some traditions involved baking boar-shaped bread or cakes when actual boar was unavailable, maintaining symbolic presence. The Yule boar showed how specific animals carried winter meanings, how sacrifice and feasting intertwined, how oaths made over sacred animals carried extra weight, binding promise makers more firmly than words alone. The tradition acknowledged that celebration required death, that feast meant killing, that meat came from living creatures whose sacrifice should be honored, that winter survival required taking life to sustain life, that this transaction deserved ritual recognition rather than casual consumption. Fact 55. Christkind, the Christ child gift bringer. In German-speaking regions, particularly Catholic areas, Christkind, the Christ child, brings gifts rather than Santa. Christkind appears as angelic figure, young girl in white robes with golden crown or hair, sometimes with wings, representing the infant Jesus spiritualized into gift bringer. The figure emerged partly from Protestant rejection of saint veneration, Martin Luther encouraging focus on Christ himself rather than street Nicholas. Christkind represents innocence, purity, divine love made accessible to children. Unlike Santa's jolly grandfather persona, Christkind is ethereal, barely material, appearing at windows or leaving gifts mysteriously without being seen. Children write letters to Christkind, decorated with glitter and drawings, sent not to North Pole but to heaven, spiritual rather than geographic destination. The tradition maintains Christmas's religious meaning while providing the magic children need, the gift bringer who rewards goodness, the figure who makes abstract theology concrete and personal. Christkind shows how different cultures solve the gift bringer question differently, how Protestant Christianity adapted Catholic practices, how the sacred could be made accessible to children without losing its sacred character. The figure is distinctly feminine or gender-neutral despite representing male Christ child, suggesting complex theological negotiation, the divine infant reimagined as angelic messenger, accessible to all children regardless of gender. Christkind represents Christmas's spiritual essence made incarnate, the gift of Christ transformed into gifts for children, maintaining religious meaning while fulfilling the same psychological and social functions as more secular gift bringers. Fact 56. The Christmas Spider, Ukrainian legend. In Ukrainian tradition, spiders and their webs are lucky Christmas symbols, explaining the tradition of decorating trees with tinsel. The tale tells of a poor widow who couldn't afford decorations for her children's Christmas tree. That night, spiders covered the tree with their webs. In the morning, sunlight transformed the webs to silver and gold, giving the family the beautiful tree they'd prayed for. The story teaches that poverty doesn't prevent blessing, that help comes from unexpected sources, that despised creatures, spiders are often feared or killed, can bring gifts. The tale sanctifies the spider's patient nighttime work, the web spun in darkness, the craft that creates beauty from the creature's own body. Ukrainian Christmas trees traditionally include spider ornaments, and the first ornament hung is often the spider, honoring the legend, ensuring the tree is blessed from the beginning. The tradition reframes natural phenomenon. Yes, spiders do move into Christmas trees brought indoors, creating webs as miracle rather than nuisance. The story suggests that accepting what naturally occurs, finding blessing in it rather than fighting it, brings transformation, that nature and celebration work together rather than in opposition. The Christmas spider teaches that poverty can be overcome through miraculous intervention, that watching and waiting through the night sometimes reveals morning transformation, that the despised and frightening can bring beauty, that patient craft creates value, that sometimes help comes while we sleep, worked in darkness by those we'd never think to ask for assistance. And so we rest now in the transformed home, spider webs turned to silver, the Yule goat having visited, bread blessed and broken, the Star Boy song still echoing, while the Kalakanzaroi rattle outside unable to enter, while the boar's head waits for feasting, while Christkind leaves gifts unseen, and we understand that winter celebration took countless forms across countless places, that each culture found its own ways to mark the season, its own visitors and rituals, its own balance of fear and comfort, wildness and domesticity, ancient and new, and we drift towards sleep knowing these traditions, however different, served similar purposes, binding communities, teaching children, honoring the sacred, acknowledging winter's power while insisting on human joy despite it. And we sleep blessed by spiders and visited by goats, sung to by star boys and watched by angels, held by the great web of tradition connecting past and present, old and new, darkness and light. We journey now into the final depths of winter's mysteries, into the transformations that mark the season's end and beginning, into the wisdom that our ancestors encoded in their winter celebrations, lessons that echo still in our modern observances. Fact 57. The burning of the greens, Epiphany's fire. On Twelfth Night or Epiphany, January 6th, the evergreen decorations that had blessed homes throughout the 12 days must be removed and burned, never simply discarded. Holly, ivy, mistletoe, pine boughs, all the greenery brought in with ceremony must leave with equal ritual. To keep decorations past Epiphany brought terrible luck, trapping the old year's spirit, preventing proper transition to ordinary time. The greens were gathered, taken outside, and burned, returning them to fire, completing their journey from living tree through decorative blessing to purifying flame. Some traditions held that young women should keep a sprig of mistletoe burned on 12th night, the ashes ensuring they'd marry within the year. The burning acknowledged that sacred time must end, that what served its purpose must be released, that the continuous state of celebration was unsustainable and unhealthy. The Christmas tree, that central symbol, had to come down, its needles dry, its purpose fulfilled, the space it occupied needed for ordinary life's resumption. The burning of the greens was boundary ritual, marking sacred time's end, ordinary time's return, the household's transformation back from temple to simple dwelling. The fire consumed what had been blessed, preventing casual disposal of sacred objects, ensuring proper respect. The tradition taught that endings matter as much as beginnings, that what is brought in with ceremony must leave with ceremony, that transitions require marking, that nothing stays sacred forever, that the wheel turns, that winter celebration gives way to winter endurance, that we can't live always in festival but must return to the work of surviving until spring actually arrives. Fact 58. 12th night cake, the bean and the pea. 12th night featured special cake, rich and spiced, with a bean and a pea hidden inside. Whoever found the bean became king for the night. Whoever found the pea became queen, granted temporary sovereignty, requiring others to obey their commands, creating temporary inversion of normal social order. The cake was cut with ceremony, portions distributed, everyone eating carefully, watching for the bean or pea that conferred sudden power. Sometimes the king and queen wore paper crowns, sat in places of honor, were toasted and celebrated, their reign lasting until midnight when ordinary order reasserted itself. The tradition enacted several principles: that luck and fate matter more than birthright for true kingship, that anyone might be elevated by fortune, that sovereignty requires community acknowledgement, that power should be temporary and playful rather than permanent and serious. The cake itself was luxury, made with expensive ingredients, decorated elaborately, the culminating feast before the fast, the last celebration before winter's ordinary hardships resumed. Finding the bean or pea was genuinely exciting, adults and children equally hoping for the distinction, the temporary elevation, the chance to command and be obeyed. The tradition showed sophisticated understanding of power, that letting everyone potentially be king for a night released social tensions, that temporary inversion strengthened rather than weakened normal order, that play-acting sovereignty taught lessons about leadership and responsibility, that even serious things like kingship could be subjects of celebration and humor, that winter needed this final burst of misrule before order's full return. Fact 59. The foretelling days, weather prophecy. Each of the 12 days predicted the corresponding month's weather. The first day's weather foretold January, the second February, continuing through all 12. People watched the weather carefully, noting wind direction, precipitation, temperature, cloud formations, recording observations that would guide the coming year's preparations. If the third day was cold and snowy, March would be harsh. If the seventh day was mild and sunny, July would be fair. The tradition acknowledged that weather patterns persist, that winter's weather contains clues about coming seasons, that careful observation enables better preparation. The 12 days became extended weather watching vigil, part of winter's work, gathering information that might mean difference between successful harvest and failed crops. Some versions held that the first day predicted the entire year's character, that New Year's Day weather set the tone for all that followed. Others divided each day into two halves, morning representing the month's first half, afternoon the second. The weather prophecy traditions show how winter observations served practical purposes, how folk wisdom accumulated over generations created prediction systems, how paying attention to nature's patterns enabled better survival. The tradition taught that the future isn't entirely hidden, that nature speaks to those who watch carefully, that the 12 days' liminality made them ideal for divination and prophecy, that knowledge gathered during winter's sacred time had special reliability, that surviving winter required both celebration and careful observation, both ritual and practical attention to the natural world's messages. Fact 60. Befana, Italy's Christmas witch. In Italian tradition, Befana, an old woman on a broomstick, visits children on Epiphany Eve, filling stockings with candy for good children, coal or dark candy for naughty ones. Legend says Befana was sweeping when the three kings passed, seeking the infant Jesus. They invited her to join them, but she said she was too busy cleaning, she'd come later. By the time she finished her housework and set out with gifts, the kings were long gone, and she never found the Christ child. Now she flies through Italy each Epiphany, still searching, leaving gifts for children, hoping one might be the child she seeks. Befana is witch figure but benevolent, old woman elevated to magical status, domestic figure, sweeping, cleaning, housekeeping, become immortal and powerful. She represents the consequences of prioritizing wrong things, the housework that matters less than holy seeking, the opportunity missed through ordinary preoccupation. Yet she's beloved, not condemned, her eternal search sympathetic rather than punitive. Children leave her wine and food, treating her as honored guest rather than frightening visitor. Befana shows how Italy developed its own gift bringer, distinctly Italian, connecting to Epiphany rather than Christmas, to old woman rather than jolly man, to witch rather than saint. She bridges pagan and Christian, the witch figure Christianized but maintaining her broom and her power. Befana teaches that it's never too late to seek what matters, that mistakes can be redeemed through persistent effort, that domestic work, however necessary, shouldn't prevent spiritual seeking, that the search itself has value even when we never quite find what we're looking for. Fact 61. Uphellier, Shetland's Fire Festival. In Scotland's Shetland Islands, Uphellier Festival occurs in late January, marking winter's midpoint, celebrating the island's Norse heritage with torchlight procession and burning of a replica Viking longship. Nearly 1,000 participants in elaborate Viking costumes march through darkness carrying torches, eventually surrounding the ship and throwing their torches onto it, creating massive bonfire, the ship consumed in flames. The festival is relatively modern, formalized in the 1880s though drawing on older traditions, but taps into deep winter symbolism, fire against darkness, community gathering, honoring Norse ancestors, celebrating fierce independence. The burning ship represents several things: honoring the dead sent to sea burial, purification by fire, winter's darkness consumed by human-made flame, Viking heritage proudly claimed. After the burning, guising, visiting halls for performances and celebration, continues through the night, maintaining social bonds, ensuring everyone participates in the collective celebration. Uphellier shows how winter festivals could be consciously created or revived, how communities could draw on historical heritage to create modern traditions, how fire festivals could occur weeks after solstice, marking winter's continuation rather than its turning point. The festival acknowledged that winter wasn't over, that the darkest days might be past but cold and darkness persisted, that communities needed continued celebration to maintain morale through winter's second half. Uphellier teaches that traditions can be renewed, that honoring the past serves present needs, that fire and procession and costume and communal burning still fulfill deep human needs, that winter celebration isn't one moment but extended season requiring multiple markers and gatherings. Fact 62. St. Knut's Day, Sweden's Christmas End. In Sweden and Finland, St. Knut's Day, January 13th, marks Christmas season's absolute end, 20 days after Christmas Eve. The Christmas tree is finally dismantled, children invited to strip it of remaining decorations and candies, sometimes dancing around it one last time before it's carried out. St. Knut's Day parties. Nutskullers feature Christmas's remaining treats, finishing leftover cookies and sweets, consuming the last of the festive food before returning to ordinary diet. The day marks definitive transition, no ambiguity about when celebration ends, providing clear boundary between sacred and ordinary time. The tradition acknowledges that Scandinavian Christmas begins on Christmas Eve. Lasting through Epiphany wasn't quite enough, the season extending to St. Canute's Day, providing full 20 days of celebration. Stripping the tree became children's party, transforming the end of celebration into its own small celebration, the dismantling becoming ritual rather than chore. The lengthened season shows how Nordic cultures, with their extremely dark winters, extended celebration as long as possible, maximizing light and festivity. Acknowledging that winter's darkness required extended response, that 20 days of celebration weren't excessive but necessary. St. Canute's Day teaches that endings need marking, that transitions require ritual, that children can participate in ending celebrations as much as beginning them, that long winters justify long celebrations, that knowing when festival definitely ends allows proper transition to post-festive life, that the tree's removal should be acknowledged rather than quietly accomplished. That saying goodbye to Christmas can itself be occasion for gathering, for final treats, for acknowledging that the special time has passed. Fact 63. Candlemas, the light's measurement. Candlemas, February 2nd, marks winter's midpoint in traditional reckoning, halfway between winter solstice and spring equinox. The holiday celebrates the presentation of Jesus at the temple, but also continues older traditions of light measurement and weather prediction. On Candlemas, churches blessed candles for the coming year, providing blessed light for home use, connecting sacred fire to domestic hearth. The days were the supposedly predicted remaining winter. Sunny Candlemas meant prolonged winter, cloudy Candlemas meant early spring. The tradition survived in America as Groundhog Day, the emerging groundhog seeing his shadow or not predicting weather, secular transformation of Christian holiday that preserved older weather prediction customs. Candlemas acknowledged that winter wasn't nearly over despite the sun's return, that the hardest winter often came after solstice, that communities needed blessing and light for winter's second half. The candles blessed on Candlemas were kept for emergencies, illness, storms, deaths, sacred light for crisis moments. The holiday marked subtle shift. Christmas celebrations long past, spring still distant, the acknowledgement that winter's middle is its own significant moment, requiring its own observance. Candlemas teaches that winter isn't one thing but has phases, that the turn toward light doesn't mean immediate warmth, that the long haul between solstice and spring requires recognition and blessing, that light matters throughout winter's length, not just at its darkest point, that blessed candles carry power through ordinary time, that the Church's blessing extended Christian protection into the darkest, coldest months still remaining. Fact 64. The Winter King and Queen, Seasonal Sovereignty. Many winter traditions featured temporary kings and queens. The Lord of Misrule, the Bean King, the Boy Bishop figures granted temporary authority, allowed to command and be obeyed, inverting normal hierarchy for sacred seasons' duration. These figures weren't merely silly but enacted deep principles about sovereignty, hierarchy, and social order. The temporary king could be peasant or fool, the person normally powerless suddenly empowered, the natural order deliberately reversed. The king might make absurd commands, require impossible tasks, create chaos and laughter, but also sometimes dispense genuine justice, heard complaints, address grievances. The tradition acknowledged that authority isn't inherent but constructed, that anyone could potentially rule, that experiencing power and powerlessness both taught lessons. The temporary sovereignty was safe, everyone knew it would end, the real order would return, the play acting wouldn't threaten actual power structures. Yet the experience mattered. The briefly powerful understood authority's burdens and temptations. The temporarily subordinate practiced obedience even to unlikely rulers. Everyone learned flexibility, the ability to temporarily accept inversions. The Winter King and Queen showed sophisticated social understanding, that rigid hierarchies need release valves, that allowing temporary inversions prevents violent overthrows, that play-acting sovereignty and subjection both educate, that winter's liminal time allowed social experimentation impossible in ordinary time. The tradition taught that power should be temporary, that anyone might rule in other circumstances, that obedience and command both require practice, that society functions through agreed-upon fictions that can be temporarily suspended without collapsing entirely. And so we rest now at winter's turning point. The greens burned to ash, the last of the 12th night cake consumed, candles blessed and ready for winter's remainder, while Bafana still searches the skies and Viking ships burn in northern darkness. And we understand that winter celebration isn't single moment but extended season, that our ancestors marked multiple points in winter's long arc, that endings matter as much as beginnings, that the transition from sacred to ordinary time requires careful navigation, and we drift towards sleep knowing these traditions taught wisdom, that temporary inversions strengthen rather than weaken order, that weather watches serve survival, that light must be blessed and tended through winter's entire length, that celebration eventually yields to ordinary life but should do so with ceremony and acknowledgement. And we sleep now in ordinary time returned, the special season past. Yet carrying forward the blessings gathered, the light kindled. The community bond strengthened, the hope renewed that spring will come, that darkness never wins forever, that winter celebration prepares us for winter survival, giving us memories of warmth and light to sustain us through the cold, dark months remaining.